Welcome back. Moving forward in this lecture, we are going to dive into our next project, which is working with the Salesforce Artificial Intelligence Einstein image classification, right? So we're going to build the entire project, and I'm going to demonstrate from scratch, step by step, what you need to make the project successful. So the Einstein image classification API is what we typically use, right? So the artificial intelligence is already part of our lives and we know it. It's the future, and that's where things are moving towards. Big data, cloud computing, we need better analytics, we need to understand better coding techniques, efficient developers, and so on. So using the Einstein image classification API, we can train deep learning models to recognize and classify images. A model is a machine learning construct used to solve a classification problem. So basically what the model does, it learns from the data instead of from explicit rules. So in this project, the term models and classifier mean the same thing, right? So as we move forward, we are going to construct a model that is going to basically read off of the images and give us the details of that image. So how does it work? So essentially you design a model by creating a data set, and we've been doing so in the last lectures or so. And then we define labels, we've done that also, and then provide examples that belong to these labels. So that's our first step. When you train the data set, the system determines the commonalities and differences between the various labels and generalizes the characteristics that define each label. And when we send an image to that particular model that you've trained, the model then predicts which class that image falls into based on the classes specified in the training data set. So straightforward. We've talked about this earlier as well. Here's the process in a visual manner. So you create the data set with the labels, you train the data set, and then you classify data. Again, very similar to what we've done in our earlier projects. This follows the same concept. And then once the data is classified, of course, based on your model, prediction is provided. Here are the project steps, and that's what we're going to do moving forward in this particular project. So we already have the prerequisites. If you've been working all along throughout this course, we already have the prerequisites, right? Like the token, the RSA OAuth token, for example, and you also have the Einstein Platform Service account. So the steps is we are going to create a remote site. That's where eventually we're going to pull the image from and actually use the API calls. Then we're going to create some Apex code, right? So essentially in step 2, this is where our JSON web token classes come about. So we're going to do 2 classes. We're going to do JWT and JWT bearer flow. Both of them are Apex classes. Step 3 is building the Einstein Vision Apex classes. So here we'll actually do the form builder Apex class. We will create a Vision Apex and the Vision controller. And then finally, we are going to create a page in Visualforce, and this is going to be within our Salesforce account. And we will create the visual page that is going to basically go ahead and once we preview that page, it's going to fetch the image and then tell us and classify that image. So essentially about 5 classes that we're going to create, and then 1 Visualforce page that we are going to create. And once again, guys, if you are a developer, whether Java developer or Salesforce developer or any kind of coder or programmer, right? So you enjoy development, this is great because you can actually take this and then eventually come up with your own apps and sell it to the marketplace or sell it to your clients or add to your existing offerings. The goal here in this entire course and all of my courses is that provide you some marketable skills, right? So if you learn something new in this, awesome. That's super exciting for me. All right. So next step is to actually go step by step, and then we're going to follow each of these steps. I'm going to demonstrate how to create these classes. I'm going to talk about the code. I'm not going to go in too depth about the code, because if you are a developer, you understand Java, then all of these methods and classes should be very familiar to you. Okay, if not, you can always provide a reference or ask me. I'll provide you some details, but I'm not going to go in depth into each line because that's going to take forever, a long time for me to actually cover all of these 5 classes. It's a fairly lengthy piece of code. I will provide the source code to you, so once we're done with this project, you will not only understand how things work, but actually how to apply them. And that's the goal. All right, with this, let's move to the next lesson, where we are going to begin with our first step, which is creating a remote site.